Ticker symbol VIRI, absolutely meeting our topside targets perfectly. Let's go ahead and go over the potentials for the following days. What is up, you guys? Thank you so much for stopping by. Once again, this is ARCa coming at you with a VIRI technicals and raw price action thread of analysis on this Taco Tuesday. Before we get started, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share the video with a friend so that you and them could consider joining our trading community in Discord called ARCa Bulls. With that said, let's dive right into the charts. Okay, so we are looking at VIRI here on the daily chart. And yes, one of our resistances was actually set here to 167 to 179. Of course, we met that. We're actually retracing back to validate it as a point of support. You can see that the 2.618 Fibonacci ratio was suggesting 178, and we absolutely met that. Okay, but more particularly, I want to show you this. Okay, actually this chart right here. So this is the hourly broadening descending wedge that we were able to notice just a little bit ago. And we stated that the upside target was it's highly likely to reach, and that target would be the top side of about 190. And if you can take a look right over here, we actually faced 192 as a high. Okay, so this marks off a completed iteration of a broadening descending wedge. Okay, perfectly, by the way. So let me just go ahead and just make that 190. There we go. So usually this formation tends to realize its upside target based on the traditional trading rules. Okay, this is per the playbook rules. This formation realizes its upside target to the genesis of the formation. Okay, so upon breakout, which is usually testing the golden rule of three, you get 3 tests of the resistance, and then you get the true breakout on either test number 4 or test number 5. Okay, upon that test number 5 breakout, the typical thing for the price action to do is to come back and validate the newly converted what was a resistance into a support, just like it did here, before a continuation to the upside. Okay, so that is how we were able to determine the 190 target, okay, of which was met today very efficiently. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take a look at other metrics to see what could be happening for the following days. Okay, so one of our resistances, of course, we were trying to see if the 2.618 in a larger term time frame at 197 was a possibility, but of course we only got that 192. So even so, we were already backed with other resistances of higher probabilities. Okay, so now that we got the broadening descending wedge to realize, I do have to say that sometimes there is a pullback to actually, to really acknowledge here. Okay, so what I do have to say is that the invalidation zones for this particular asset would actually be at around 170 before price action ends up testing the top side of this range here, which would be 162, right? So I want to say that this has the potential to reach back down to around that 170 zone. Okay, so I'm going to give you a range here, potentially 170. Let's do it like this. I'm going to draw it in just like this, and then to the top side of this imbalance here. Okay, so what I mean by imbalance is that this wick low has a gap between this wick and this wick from this candle here. See that gap has the candle in between. You have the wick low and that wick low. So that's usually known as kind of like a fair value gap or an imbalance, right? So I would give it to the top side of that as a form of support. Sometimes we do come back to the fair value gap and cover it, which is why I'm suggesting the bottom side of this range here. So essentially 175 to 170 could be the area for us to face a short-term pullback, and then we have to evaluate the price action for the next days to come. Okay, one thing to notice here is that we have the SMA 10 on the hourly time frame located very comfortably within the area that we just suggested. Okay, so that's it's giving us a higher probability now that we have a major moving average located there. Okay, so now let's go ahead and I want to look at a few time frames here of particularly volatility versus momentum. Okay, so let me just get a few things out of the way here. Okay, so I know that. Okay, so yeah, right. I wanted to show you the ARQ algos that we're about to release, and that is actually particular to the armor indicator, right? So this would be a momentum-based indicator that actually gives us long and short signals. So for example here, and these are going to be re-releases based on the algorithms that we had prior. So we actually pretty much remastered them. We got them to be to look forward tighter. They are considering tighter bounds of short signals and long signals, right? So yeah, so this thing would essentially be paired with other strategies and stuff, right? So you get a short signal here, right? Take profit would be down here. Long signal here gives you a short, right? So you can see that. You can see how the move happens, right? So yeah, and you would likely see where the higher probabilities of retracement would be, or where it's strongest on what time frame you're trading, right? So it's made to be traded universally across any ticker. All right, so for pre-order and release info, please go ahead and get in touch with either Ike or myself at arqindicators@gmail.com, and we'll go ahead and fill you in. I have had several inquiries for this already, so I'll make sure to get back to you. We'll make sure to get back to you as soon as possible. But know that we have received your email, and we are replying in an orderly fashion. Okay, so upon the pre-order people who are actually wanting to make a purchase out of this, then we will be releasing for those early comers the strategy of the Divergence 1 strategy that I have for a divergence locator of RSI, which is displaying hidden and regular drives of both hidden and of both bullish and bearish divergence, which right now, for example, on FNGR, is actually giving us on the 12-hour time frame an 80% profitability. So this strategy would also be included with the subscription package of there would be nine indicators at this point, including the ARC Div 1. Okay, so this strategy will be given to you too. Okay, so anyway, let's go ahead and definitely take a look at the volatility versus momentum profile and see what could be happening. Okay, I want to make sure that we can look at this in the most efficient manner, because upon meeting those types of resistances like we did just today, that actually presents, a pullback to come, which actually could help some of the stragglers, right? So let's get rid of some of the prior support zones that we were already using, right? So, oh yeah, right. So this is the next thing we wanted to touch on, right? So let me see if I can actually get that top side. How did I do this one here? Oh my goodness. Okay, so the lines get all screwed up. It's okay. But right, so this was the second target that we were looking for. And you can see here that this yellow line, we were suggesting here literally from this day back here that 192 would be the top side, right? That's literally highlighted to be 192, right? And the price action ended up reaching 192 today. So the targets are meeting nicely. Okay, so now the other thing that we wanted to take into consideration here was was actually the top side of the resistance, and this is from the failed head and shoulders, right? So that's from the top side of the head all the way to the bottom side. You apply to the right head, to the right shoulder top side, and that is suggesting 229. Let's see, about 231. Sorry. And that puts us right in the bounds of the 3.618 at 228. Okay, so I want to see if we can still actually get that upside, right? So the way we're going to do that is actually observing our volatility. Our volatility versus momentum. So let me just go ahead and pull up the 30-minute time frame. Okay, downside in the 30-minute, decreasing volatility, crossing below the SMA 14, which is represented by the pink line in the RSI. The signal line of the RSI is the cyan line, the blue line. And this is, it's pretty much pivoted towards the downside. So this is suggesting that downside that we're already looking for anyway. Okay, so let's see the hourly time frame. Okay, the hourly time frame is showing some type of support here already. Okay, so now we have to move up to the bi-hourly to see if we still have a little bit of distance to go, because that would potentially tell us that the hourly time frame could fail the SMA 14 temporarily, find support, and then continue on to the upside. So let's see. Okay, so the bi-hourly is indicating that it can continue here ever so slightly, and then continue onwards and upwards. Okay, so if we, if we're looking at the downside targets here, I think I still will have to honor 175 to 170 for reloading before a continuation onto the upside. Okay, so the next thing that's giving us a continuation to the upside is actually this What you are viewing here is actually divergence, and divergence is the opposition of price action versus momentum, and in this case, momentum represented by RSI. So you can see here that the oppositions happening, lower lows versus higher lows in price action, equals drives of hidden bullish divergence. Okay, so that would be this variety here: the lower lows on the indicator, lower low, and then the higher lows on price, right? Price and the momentum, right? So just to be utterly clear about that, right? So we have two confirmed drives, and we have actually validated them and are now continuing on to the upside. By daily time frame has a resistance coming up here, but I do have to say that it's in a very critical area for the shorts. Why am I saying this? Well, there are gravitational zones within the RSI spectrum, and you would actually observe that at any given bound, right? So this middle bound here, 2% up or 2% down, would be the gravitational zones. So if you're in this gravitational zone, the likelihood is downward. If you're in this gravitational zone here, it's likely upward. So as you can see, price action is continuing onwards here, and we are literally headed for that gravitational zone of the bullish control zone. Okay, so this is the bullish control zone, and this is the bull strength percentile, the green area. So that bullish control zone has that gravitational zone right up here, which would essentially push us to the upside. So that would be momentum plus gravity. Plus gravity. So that is likely to succeed the upside of the SMA 14 and not use it as a resistance. Okay, so that's the speculation for now. There is no backtest to that as well, so we're just going to have to go ahead and validate as we go. I am going to be streaming live tomorrow and every day, just like I have been doing, starting at about 7 a.m. or 7:30 a.m. I'm trying to get there earlier. It's just, my little boy still has some issues here and there, and we're trying to get them resolved, right? So, but anyway, team, join me in the live situation, on the live stream, sorry. And now let's look at the rest of the RSI metrics to see what could be in line for the asset tomorrow. Sorry that the video is going on for a bit. I just want to make sure that we are reciprocating as precise as we can be, right? So yeah, let's hurry this up. Okay, downside on the 30-minute, like we said, support touch on the bi-hourly. Well, that's right. And then let's look at the 6 hour. So 6 hour, it's in the gravitational zone here, likely to get pulled to the upside, and the 6 hour would essentially influence the 8 hour towards the upside. Okay, so now bleeding into the 12-hour time frame, still has that upside in the bull strength percentile. Daily time frame has that upside entering the bullish control zone, the bull strength percentile, of course. And we already looked at the bi-daily and 3-day, potentially showing us a resistance. And I mean, like I said, this is even this one here is located right at the gravitational zone. This may actually pull us to the upside. And I really am favoring the bulls here. Okay, so it's going to be a temporary downside before a continuation to the upside, team. Definitely keep your eyes on that 170 to 175 target before a continuation to the upside. Okay, so if just in case, if we were to face a continuation to the downside, there is a very small support zone beyond this one here. Okay, so I'll give you that one too in the event where we do face that pressure. Okay, which actually does have a lot to do. Here it is. A lot to do with the EMA 21, the yellow line below us, the moving average. Okay, so we would consider this about 168. Let me zoom out. Wow, it's small. Man, it's very small. We could keep into consideration 166 too. Okay, so the 166 candle low here. Closing of this candle here, and many others right at that 166 level. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm talking about. By that time, the EMA 21 and the hourly would be located here, which would actually support us within this zone too. I'm not saying that we are going to go down there. I'm just giving you two different ranges for us to keep into high consideration here while making a downside. Okay, so as very likely a lot of longs, whoever was viewing this price action, they also saw what I saw, right? The broadening descending wedge, topside target of about 192, 190, sorry, price action went to that 192, perfectly executing this. This was textbook here, team. Okay, so yeah, now you know these bottom side targets, and then if we were to face a bounce from this zone here, let's just say that we long the asset from 170, right? So that would be an increase to the top side of about almost 13% to 192. Okay, so that would be our first area of resistance. And I honestly do think that we can combat it, but definitely rest assured that we will get another pullback from 192. We would come back to this tiny little gap here at about 183 or 184 and then continue onwards and upwards. The next resistance would be located at around 201. We'll come back to the 190, validated as a support, now that we combated the top side of the take profit from the wedge, and then continue on. So it's, ebb and flow. All right, so that's what we'll end up seeing, okay, team? So everything is looking pretty good thus far. I'm not seeing any signs of capitulation unless, of course, there is some type of fundamental catalyst that'll send price action to the downside, but I don't see anything like that in the charts, team. So everything's looking good. So please remember, first and foremost, that I am not a financial advisor. Take whatever I do show and iterate within these videos as just a form of entertainment, as I cannot suggest for you to buy, sell, or hold any assets whatsoever. Sorry about that. I need you to do your own due diligence and everything will be cool. But with that said, I wish you well, a very, very good night, and I will catch you at the bell mañana. Adios.